Check this out, guys. This is a big portion of this program, the Sober to Super program. It's about belief. He who says he can and he who says he can't are both right. It's so important to curate belief in yourself, something larger than yourself, and then the culmination, the combining belief in yourself and something that's larger than yourself. Uh, this is our goal. Our goal is to reach another level of being, and by doing that, we've got to be believing, right? So, here is a phrase that I came up with. It ties it all together. Extraordinary beliefs allow the escape from ordinary limits, right? Extraordinary beliefs allow the escape from ordinary limits. And so, when we believe about another level, then it's possible. And without the belief, it is impossible. So this is going to be a big portion of this program. Is going to be matching our personal belief with where we want to be, and knowing that it's possible. And people that have been in addiction and people that have had problems, depending on how far your unique rock bottom may have been, you start to think that it's not possible. And then this is where the enemy gets a hold of you, is when you start to think that it's not possible for you, then you're right. And so what a lot of times happens to people that struggle with substance abuse and struggle with, hitting these low moments in their life, is that the belief starts to dwindle. It starts to reach a level of zero. And if you have a belief level of zero, or maybe even worse than that, maybe things are even darker than that. And I think that people that are familiar with rock bottom know damn well that it can get below zero. And so, that's what we're going to be doing in this portion of the program. Is we're going to be working on belief, meaning increasing it, right? And it's going to be exciting. It's going to be an exciting portion. As I mentioned before, there's two kinds of belief, right? There are two kinds of belief. It's believing in something greater than yourself, and believing in yourself as a person, as a being. Again, both of them, like if we work on both, our limits will be increased, if not limitless. And so here is the direction that we're headed in this material, in this portion of the program, is going to be all about the belief in both of these elements. As I've got it outlined here, when I say larger than yourself, sometimes people, they immediately go to God. I personally believe in God. I'm personally a Christian, but it doesn't have to be Christianity. If you can just get out of yourself and have a level of belief that where you're not the center of the universe, this can be so valuable. It's so valuable to know that there's something larger than you. And I believe wholeheartedly that if you really want to just rip the lid off of this thing and reach a new level, it's imperative that you know that there are forces bigger than yourself out there. And you can call it whatever you want. I want to make that very clear in this portion of the program, is that religiously, whatever you may believe in, to me, it doesn't necessarily matter. That's not what this is about. This is about just believing something larger than yourself. And that can include science. It can include the universe. It can include religious deities. That's all fine and good, right? But the idea is like, here's yourself and this belief, something higher, something more powerful, something greater than yourself. That is a linchpin to this whole thing, and I don't want there to be any confusion. I don't want people to think that that this is a religious endeavor. It is not. And it can be, but that's up to you. Now, just to kind of hone in on this belief in yourself, it's imperative, right? It's really important that the self-efficacy, meaning the confidence, right? This is what I'm talking about here. This belief in yourself, super important. And we're going to get into these frameworks here in a minute. I have this super sweet acronym. This will help it'll make the concept a little stickier in your mind and kind of add a layer of importance to it. Acronyms can work as a bit of glue to the thoughts, right? And if they're creative enough, or if they're powerful enough, and it may stick with you forever. So belief, the B, beat, right? The E, every, L, limiting, I, idea, E, embrace, F, faith. And again, faith, it's in something greater than yourself, in yourself, in possibility. But it can also be religion, because it can really add some layers to you personally if it works, right? So beat every limiting idea, embrace faith. Beat every limiting idea, embrace faith. That's belief. And so this acronym can really, it can get you through some hard times. I think if just that phrase is powerful in itself, beat every limiting idea, embrace faith. It's telling you a couple of things, right? It's starting to denounce your limiting thoughts. Oh, I'm too old. It's too late. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough money. These are the limiting ideas, right? These are the thoughts that really can hinder, they can really hold you back. They can stop you dead in your tracks. You got to beat those things. That's the first part. And then embrace faith. It's the other side of the coin. It's like, get rid of that dumb shit. Get a hold of this great stuff. And that includes faith. It includes faith in yourself. It includes faith in something greater than yourself. And then again, we're combining those in an ideal situation. And then this is going to add to you, make you nearly unstoppable. And, what we're going to get into here is an experience of my own. And as I had mentioned, I'm a believer. I'm a Christian. And that's just my personal journey. But this is, it wasn't always true. And I'm kind of new to it as far as the religious aspect of my life. I was in a men's program. I was desperate. I was searching for help. And so I found myself in this men's program, which it turned out to be like more of like a work program. And let me tell you, I have not done any jobs as gnarly as the ones I did while I was in this program. This program was under the umbrella of a Christian organization, but not all religious organizations, not all people that hang that flag, are good. And I'm not even saying this program was bad. It was just, it happened to be more of a work program than it was like a help program. And so I found myself digging holes almost every damn day. I found myself throwing out dead carcasses of animals at power plants. I found myself cleaning reclaimed water, which, if you don't know what that is, it's sewer water. I was in rubber overalls inside of other people's poo-poo water. I saw condoms floating around me. That was one of the jobs. Another one was it was cleaning a construction site. You think, oh, that's not so bad. But it was in the summer here in Florida, and here I am in this building with no elevator. Why do I mention that there's no elevator? Well, not because it was so hard to get up and down the stairs. It was because the construction workers, they would urinate in bottles and leave them around this construction site. I had to clean up these bottles. I fought back. I said, I'm not doing that. I'm not these Gatorade bottles, cups, anything that they could find to piss in. They would do this, and so it was my job for like $8 an hour to clean up this site. They didn't really mention the urine part. They said, "Oh, clean it up." I thought it was, of course, there, and they're like, dispose of it. So you can see where this got pretty nasty. So I found myself in this building, just hot, sweating, just looking around, thinking to myself, my God, like how did things get this gnarly, this rough, man? And so I would pray, and I would have conversations with God, and I found when I would pray, this little bit of a breeze would come through. Where it came from, I have no idea, because I'm inside of a building with like no ventilation. It's not as if this is a working building. There's no like air conditioning, nothing like that. So somehow, some way, every time I had these conversations and I really felt like I was just going to lose my mind, I'd catch this breeze And in my mind, that was a power greater than myself. This was God speaking to me, giving me this, just the tiniest bit of relief in the moment, just the tiniest bit of uh, I wouldn't call it relaxation, but like at least it was slightly better than what I was enduring, and I felt that it was being sent to me. Now, the reason why I say this is because when you curate belief in yourself and in something greater than yourself, you can always find evidence of this. And it was a big deal to me. And I think that not everybody would hear this story and think, oh my gosh, yeah, wow, that was God. People probably aren't going to say that. That part doesn't matter. What matters is that I was finding evidence of my relationship with a higher being, my relationship with a power greater than myself. And this happened, day in and day out, uh, for some time, months that I was like doing this job. And so I was finding evidence of this power greater than myself, and I also believe that this power was corresponding with me. This power was helping me. Now, and that wasn't the last scenario while I was in this men's program that I feel that I had this interaction. While I was in there, I was miserable, still struggling with addiction. I was still struggling with what I was going to do. I felt like I was supposed to finish this program. However, I was hindered. I didn't want to do these jobs. Clearly, it was not easy. And then one day, the houseman, because I'm diabetic, and you couldn't be diabetic in this program because you're a liability on the work site. So here I am. I was taking my insulin in the middle of the night. Like I'd wake up at like 4 or probably like 3 o'clock just to put in my insulin in my stomach before anybody would wake up, because otherwise I'd be kicked out. And so I was like on the other side of this building. There's 4 bathrooms in this entire like compound. I would go furthest away in the dark so nobody would see me and nobody would find out I'm diabetic, because otherwise, if they did, I'm done. And here I am. I'm in like the 3rd stall of the bathroom. I've got the needle, diabetic insulin needle in my stomach. Clearly not heroin, but the houseman in charge, he opens the door. He sees the needle. It's in my stomach. He was a heroin addict. He knew it wasn't heroin. Close the door. He says, I hear him say, sorry. Then I hear him say, are you diabetic? And I'm like, oh, shit. I'm out of here, Now, when I look back, I realize it was a coincidence, right? A coincidence that he walked all the way across the compound, went into the bathroom in the dark that I happened to not lock. I didn't lock the damn thing. Why did I lock it? I have no idea. I went that far away. He happened to go into the same place. He wasn't checking the building. He was going to use the restroom himself. Why did he choose that one? Why did he go at 3 a.m? Why was he the man in charge who found me? All of these, right? Coincidences, right? So I don't always believe in coincidence. In fact, and we're going to see right here, Einstein has an interesting little approach to coincidence, and it says coincidence is God's way of is remaining anonymous. That's coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. And so here's Albert Einstein, like one of the grandfathers of all science. I guess the rock star, if you will, of science, and he was admitting that, like, okay, even I know so much about formulas and math and all of these types of physics and all these things bound by rules, laws, and things that can be proved and disproved, and all of this empirical data, all of this stuff. But here he's admitting that coincidence is God, this power greater than ourselves, and again, call it whatever you will, the universe. It's not a coincidence. That's my point. I don't believe it was a coincidence, and it reinforced my faith in something larger than myself again. And long story longer, I got kicked out of the program. I was done. They found out I was diabetic, and I got kicked out. And at the time, I thought, well, this is awful. What am I going to do? I had nowhere to go. And looking back, it was a blessing. It didn't feel like that at the time. And I don't think it was a coincidence that right when I needed to be kicked out, I was kicked out. And it was a big part of the journey, even though, again, at the time, it felt like a catastrophe. It wasn't a coincidence. Looking back, that's my feeling. That's what I believe. And it really, really solidified. It was a solidifying moment in my journey in faith as well. So here I am. I'm curating this belief in a power greater than myself, but I still don't have any belief in me. I'm still a mess, top to bottom, no job, no place to live, nowhere to go, no money. So the belief in something greater than myself came uh, or developed at a point earlier than the belief in myself. But again, if you remember correctly, both are imperative. You need to do it. And so here's a framework, right? It's the belief evolution. Now, let's pay attention to this diagram. Let's take a look at it. Um, you know, again, as I mentioned, he who says he can, is right, right? So here you have the very first portion of this framework, and it shows when you don't believe that it can be or it can be done, then it can't be. You're working backwards. If you don't believe that you can do it, then you're damn sure not going to do it. And so then there's another level where it's the belief that others can do it, but you can't do it. So it's like, okay, yeah, I know, I can see so and so did it, but me, it wasn't meant for me, and it's too late for me, and I'm too old. I can't make it happen. They had more money than I do. They've got support, and they had a good teacher. Whatever it is, it's the belief is now in others, but not in yourself. So if you can see the human boundaries there, you're well below that, and so you're kind of maybe not destroying yourself, but you're damn sure not making much progress, right? Then you have a belief that you can do it, right? And so now you're like, okay, yeah, I saw that person did it. That person did it. I can do it. And this is important. This is really good. This is a great portion. This is a great step to say, all right, it can be done. And if they can do it, I can do it. It's a good way to be. It's a positive way of thinking, right? This is like how the 4 minute mile was broken. It was like it can't be done, right? As a whole, nobody thought it could be done, and it's like boom, somebody runs a 4 minute mile. Now people are saying, if that person can do it, I can do it. If that person can do it, I can do it. And so this is a huge, huge step in with that specific goal, a 4 minute mile. It changed everything. All of a sudden, people were just breaking this nonstop. Boom, boom, boom. People running 4 minute miles left and right. Big deal, right? Now, if you look down, this is where we want to be at the bottom of the framework here. And that's when you start to believe that not only can it be done and can you do it, but this power greater than yourself is helping you do it. Ironically, going back to Einstein, he's the rock star, right? So it's real easy to reference him. But he says the most important decision you'll ever make is whether or not you live in a kind and generous universe or a malicious universe, meaning like, is the universe out to get you, or is the universe working with you? And so if you believe that this higher power, once you start admitting this, you start finding evidence, and you start to think, okay, yeah, not only does it exist, but it's behind me. The winds of the universe are blowing in my sails. And then once you have that, once you have this power of belief, once you've started thinking like, damn, like my God wants me to win. I'm not being punished. I'm not a victim of this and that. Like there is evidence, and we're going to get to it, but like you can find the evidence. It's all around you if you make the choice to do so. But where we want to be is where you believe that the universe is working with you. And then if you can do this, if you can believe that the universe, God, the power higher than yourself is behind you. You have no limits and you cannot be stopped. You have no limits and you cannot be stopped. And as you can see, it's depicted here. You basically, you have human boundaries there. Boom, you have that little line right through it. You can reach things that are unimaginable to you now. And I really, this is so important. And you can see I get a little fired up because it's so powerful to just have this inside of you. And we're going to work on it. We're going to curate it. So how do we do it? How do we, well, I'm going to digress here, and we're going to get back to this interesting diagram that we have referenced already in the Sober Super program. And this is going to go back. We're taking, like I said, we're going to digress here. Get back to the belief in yourself. You get there with momentum, right? Each iteration, right, that you do can curate momentum if you have the right mindset. And so what we have is our classical diagram. We don't want to be the person at the top. We want to be that person at the bottom. And if you see in time, through iteration after iteration, they've started to find evidence of their self-efficacy, of their ability, right? Self-efficacy is really like your perception of how well you can do something, hence confidence. If you notice at the bottom, it's where we want to be over time. Each iteration kind of moves you along this line. And if you frame your mind around all of these as being either lessons or wins, the evidence starts to stack up and you move forward. And through time, you end up at mastery. That's where you want to be. And you want to have this appropriate attitude of each iteration through time and how that will add to your momentum. And as I had mentioned in my story, is that when I got kicked out, I had nothing, nowhere to go, no money, basically no skills. I was just starting pretty much from scratch. So I had belief and knowledge and a faith in something larger than myself, but I had almost no faith or belief in myself. And so through the iterations, right, you will start to curate this, right? You will start to curate the belief in yourself. And each iteration is, when you stack them up, the wins will grow larger, right? And if your perception is everything is a win or a lesson, then you have nowhere to go but up, right? You'll believe your way to exponential growth. That might sound a little woo-woo. It might sound a little out there, but it's just how it works. Like if you just, in each iteration, you remove the thought that it can't be done, and that you replace that with the thought that it is possible, and each iteration is carrying you to that possibility, exponential growth, exponential positive growth, right? And again, if I don't mention too much about the other way, exponential negative growth, because we've experienced that, right? If you're in this program, you're probably familiar with how quickly things can unravel, but that's not our direction any longer, right? We're moving, up and to the right, if you will, on this chart of life. As I mentioned, the wins and lessons, and with these wins and lessons, done, one is gathered from each iteration. And then if we're remaining positive that it can be done, and each iteration is getting us closer to that possibility eventually, right? And we have that appropriate framework of wins and lessons, and we take out the thought that it can't be done. We've got nowhere to go but up and right. Nelson Mandela says it here in such a glorious and beautiful way. And this is a man that was incarcerated for a very long time. A lot of people could objectively look at him and say, you're screwed, man. You're just done. And he has famously quoted, "We don't lose. We only win and learn." I mean, he's saying exactly what I've been repeating this whole program. I mean, he was around before me, so maybe I took it from him. But nonetheless, the idea is what we want. That idea is that everything is in our favor, right? So when you do this, that belief will just grow. Like the seeds are planted, right? We've kind of taken out the weeds of the garden, right? The weeds are the thoughts that it can't be done. If you start to just pull those weeds from the garden of your mind and then like you get rid of them, you really have um, limitless potential in the belief in yourself. And again, coupled with the higher power belief, unstoppable and limitless. Really, that's the the end result of the entire program, and especially this portion of the program, this portion that's centered around belief. We are working at removing the limits, and you can remove these limits with the belief that you are limitless and that you are not limited. And so, a massive takeaway. As I mentioned before, you can find evidence of anything if you look hard enough. And this is evidence of anything. For instance, there was a company, and there was a person that was so focused on finding thieves. And when you're focused on finding something, your mind and your mind, body, and everything will work together, and eventually it will happen. Right? Here's another good example. You think that your wife or your girlfriend is like lying to you, or your husband, and you're just so convinced. You start going through their phone and you start looking through their messages, and you start digging and digging and digging and digging. You're going to find something. There's going to be something, even if the person is completely honest. You're going to find something and twist it until it works for the favor of your own opinions, and you will find evidence of what you had believed was true, even though it's awful. So back to the story of finding these thieves in this organization. Well, if you look hard enough, you'll find them. So what happened? A bunch of people got fired for stealing time, from the clock, stealing, products. So basically, it was like, even if you hadn't physically stolen something, it was like, well, you weren't working that hard, so you're taking time, and therefore you're stealing. It was like how wild it is that we're able to twist the reality or statistics or anything really to find the evidence of our beliefs, right? So what I'm advising you here, the takeaway here, if we really pay attention to this statement, you can find evidence of anything if you look hard enough, right? Let's look back to my story of being in this work program in this building, cleaning up urine. I needed a higher power, and I started speaking to this higher power. And as I spoke to this higher power, I created the belief in the higher power. So I found evidence of that higher power in a breeze. Now, objectively, any person could say, it's a breeze, you idiot. You're trying to say that this light breeze on your sweaty face was when it's 95 degrees and it only slightly cooled you off. You're saying that was God? Yes, I'm saying that. I'm saying that I found the evidence of it. Right? I found the evidence of a higher being in that breeze that barely cooled me off. But it doesn't matter what you objectively think. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. I was curating the belief in something higher than myself that eventually turned into belief in myself, and that eventually turned into my success. So, it's no small thing here. It's no small thing here. We're planting seeds that will that can grow you and make you reach a level of success that is unimaginable to you now. And I believe that a lot of super successful people all over the planet agree. It's just how it is. They understand, they know, like without the belief, you're screwed. So you might as well jump on the board, on the boat, like make it happen. Start getting with it. If you didn't believe before, you better start believing now. And without it, you don't have much of a future of success. So, now, again, like let's put some boots to ground here with our thoughts, and then we're going to connect that to some action here. So, affirmations, people know what affirmations are. It's where you tell yourself how great you are. You tell yourself how this is going to be a great day. Oh, I'm surrounded by love and happiness, and I'm successful. I make a lot of money. I have a great job. All these affirmations that you can tell yourself, these positive positive statements. That's what affirmations are. They're positive statements. People write them on their mirror that they see in the morning. They put it on Post-it notes in their car. They slap it on their laptop. So when they open it up, they see that, oh, you're super smart today, or you're going to have a fantastic morning. Wonderful. These are great, great things, right? Who doesn't want to hear positive words? There's a lot of power there. But what makes them super powered, what turns affirmations into reality and curates the belief inside your mind, is the confirmation behind it, right? The affirmations backed by confirmations. And there's a few really, really good books out there about this, and some really very bright thought leaders that share this opinion. Back up the affirmations with a confirmation that you can find in your life. So what are we doing here? We're finding the evidence in our belief. Well, I'm sorry. In this particular situation, we're finding the evidence in the affirmation to make the affirmation our belief. For instance, well, I look super good today. My hair looks fantastic. I feel like I'm standing a little bit taller. Now you can back that up with, oh, I saw somebody looking at me while I was walking across the street. I think they were checking me out, right? There's a tiny bit of confirmation there. Now, is it true? Doesn't matter. It's adding to the affirmation, hence, or thus, your belief. So you take the affirmation, I'm going to be super wealthy. Oh my gosh, I remember that one time I found $20 on the ground. I'm a money magnet, right? And so I kind of jumped ahead of us there and got into the action plans here using my example. But these are 3 actions. Actually, altogether, I think we got 6 here. Write 3 affirmations about yourself. This is a positive statement about you. Again, we'll go with the money thing. I'm a money magnet, right? And then, then you're going to write down confirmations of that affirmation. It could be, you won $150 on a scratch-off ticket, or you bet your friend on a sports game and you beat them. It could be, you got a massive tax refund. It could be you got a raise at your job. When I would write this, one of these that I wrote, I said that every organization that I join becomes massively successful. I wrote that, and then I started writing the confirmations. And one of those confirmations is that when I joined a particular business, I helped grow, that the company started at like 2.4 million. By the time I had left in a year's time, we got to like 4.8. I wanted to get to 5 million. We came a little shy, but nonetheless, the growth was nearly 100%. And so, it was a little shy of my goal, but it was a massive success. Hence, I could generate wealth for any organization that I'm a part of. That was a confirmation of that. Another confirmation that I added to the statement that I massively grow and help financially any organization I become a part of, is that I had worked for a company in Las Vegas. I moved there from Florida, worked for them in Las Vegas. They ended up being the highest grossing restaurant/bar in the world for 3 years. How much did I have to do with that? Not much. I went to work. I played a role. I couldn't necessarily say that I got them there. I didn't have as much influence as the first example I gave you, but nonetheless, it's a confirmation. I wrote it down. I'm like, oh man, that kind of makes sense. And if you add these up, you keep writing a positive statement about yourself. I can get in shape pretty fast. And then you're like, oh, I remember that time I lost 15 pounds in 2 months. And then, I got on the scale today and it's 2 pounds less than it was yesterday. And this could be anything, water weight, who knows? Is it fat content? Maybe, probably not. But it's the confirmation that leads to your belief. Do you see what's happening here? So I want you to write down 3 affirmations, and behind those affirmations, write down 3 confirmations of each affirmation, right? So you've got the idea here, and you can see there's an example. Ryan is a wealth magnet. Confirmation: I found $20 on the ground the other day. That's kind of a loose confirmation. I gave you a couple other ones that I've used in the past. Again, it can go from everything from interest from potential partners, dating app interactions, things to do with your wealth, things to do with performance in sports, whatever it is. You can find evidence. That's my point. You can find evidence in any affirmation that you write about yourself. You just have to look hard enough. And believe me when I say this, humans are confirming machines. And you can see this in people that have like radical beliefs. They will, we didn't land on the moon. Like if they believe that, they will find some crazy looking evidence. It shows that the moon landing was in a movie set. It's like, when people are like set on something, they can do it. You can do it. And so let's just take that power, right? And use it for belief, use it for positivity, use it for developing yourself. And so by developing ourselves, we're going to just make sure that what we choose to focus on here is positive for our development. And then we're going to back it up with a ton of confirmations. And here's the glory of it. I don't care where you get the confirmations. You could be like, I'm going to be super successful. It's like, oh, I remember my mom told me that when I was younger, right? It doesn't matter where you get the confirmation. It's the switch in your mind that we're searching for. So whatever hits that switch, it works. Am I right? All right. So we're cranking along and moving through this Sober to Super program. We're developing belief here in this imperative part of the program. Let's go over that statement again. Extraordinary beliefs allow the escape from ordinary limits, right? By conjoining the belief in a power greater than ourselves and a power or a belief in ourselves personally, right? So the belief inside, intrinsically believe in ourselves. And then we pair that with the belief in something larger, more powerful than ourselves. Now we have ripped the lid off of this thing. We are limitless. We are gaining traction. We're gaining momentum. And then if we just keep this up, we just keep on stacking this up in time, we're unstoppable. And that's where we're headed. I'll see you on the next one, guys.